what advice do you have for people where that really is uncomfortable for them to do? And it's kind of a stretch to do that.
I'd say this is the number one thing I see with my clients when when I'm giving them feedback after our first practice interview, or sometimes they're aware of it themselves, which is I'm just not good at selling myself. I don't know what to do or how to do it. And so a lot of it comes down to, analyzing the job description before you go in and being really clear about what are my strengths and accomplishments that I should really highlight because they make me a great fit for this role. And then thinking about how do I incorporate those points into into my answers to the questions, especially, they're probably going to ask, tell me about yourself. They're probably going to ask, tell me about what you did in your most recent role. There are things that you're going to get. And if you think about, well, how do I make sure to cover these points? And if you don't have to be an extrovert or super, aggressive about it. You can do it in your own voice, and that's where practice can help a little bit. You can be factual. You don't have to go in and say, I'm the project manager who ever lived. You must hire me now. You can go in and say, I've managed for 10 years, I've managed large scale technology projects, managing teams of over 25 people. I've been promoted, using the facts. And then another little trick that I give people is you can also quote other people. So you can say, my manager's feedback was this, the client told me it was the greatest, outcome they'd had. There are ways to sell yourself without sounding like you're bragging. Although I would stress that an interview is a place where you do have to brag a little bit to be effective. You don't have to be obnoxious about it, but I would say try not to be too hung up on not bragging at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So in other words, really, really strive to convey that confidence in your own capabilities and your confidence that you know that you can add significant value to this position for these specific reasons. I have so many thoughts flowing through my mind. It just so happens that I personally have interviewed a lot this year. So this is all fresh in my mind. And just one little tip I want to share that I'll credit someone on our team for doing this. And it was one of the many things that caused his resume to stand out above all others is for each of the positions he had listed on his resume, he had an actual quote from someone that he worked with that kind of captured the essence of his value. And that was such a small but significant thing from my perspective and can easily be fact checked. And to your point, Pamela, that's a nice way to balance you personally talking about your value while having, others validate that. So if you're on the call, kudos to you for standing out in that regard. And to your point, Rita, I could not believe it. We're a communications company. If you can't demonstrate that you're an exceptional communicator, you're not even going to be considered. I could not believe the number of resumes that had grammatical or typos in them. Could not believe it. So, and the other thing I'll add to your point, Rita, it was the minority of candidates that we interviewed who followed up with a thank you or a video thank you. So take that into account. That's such a simple way for you to stand out and rise above all of the others that you're competing against.